Imagine hiking through the mountains and stumbling upon a frozen human body, one that has been lying there for more than 5,000 years. That is exactly what happened in 1991 when two hikers in the Italian Alps made a discovery that would forever change our understanding of ancient Europe. Emerging from the melting ice was a perfectly preserved human corpse. At first, they thought it was a recent victim of an accident. They were wrong. They had just uncovered one of the most extraordinary archaeological finds in history. Meet Ötzi the Iceman. Ötzi lived during the Copper Age, around 3300 BC. When he died, he was approximately 45 years old. He was a hunter and traveler who moved through the Alps, carrying a copper axe, a long bow, arrows, and a bearskin hat. His body was covered in tattoos, and his bones told the story of a life filled with hardship, injury, and constant movement through rugged terrain. But Ötzi did not die peacefully. He was shot in the back with an arrow. The projectile pierced his left shoulder, severing an artery and causing massive internal bleeding. It was a fatal wound. So how do we know all of this? The answer lies in DNA. DNA is the molecule that carries our genetic blueprint. It can reveal ancestry, appearance, health, and even behavioral traits. Since Ötzi's discovery, scientists have been carefully extracting and analyzing his DNA, and with each breakthrough, new details about his life have emerged. In 2023, researchers published a groundbreaking study in the journal Cell Genomics, using advanced sequencing techniques to decode Ötzi's entire genome for the first time. By comparing his DNA with that of modern humans and ancient populations, scientists were able to reconstruct his origins, physical traits, and genetic legacy. The results were surprising. One of the most unexpected discoveries was Ötzi's ancestry. His DNA showed that 92% of his genetic makeup came from early Anatolian farmers, originating in what is now modern-day Turkey. These people migrated into Europe roughly 8,000 years ago, bringing agriculture, tools, and new technologies with them. Only 8% of Ötzi's ancestry came from European hunter-gatherers and Eastern herders. This suggests that Ötzi belonged to an isolated alpine community with very little genetic mixing from surrounding regions. His genetic profile is strikingly different from most modern Europeans, who carry a much more diverse blend of ancestries. Interestingly, Ötzi's closest living relatives today are found in Sardinia, an island in the Mediterranean that still retains a high proportion of early Anatolian farmer ancestry. His appearance was another shock. Based on his preserved body, researchers once believed Ötzi had light skin and hair. DNA analysis revealed the opposite. Ötzi had dark skin, dark eyes, and very little hair on his head. His skin tone was closer to that of modern Southern Europeans or North Africans. His eyes were likely brown or hazel. He also carried a genetic variant associated with male pattern baldness, increasing his risk by nearly 6 times. In other words, Ötzi was already going bald in his 40s. So why did his mummy look different? Over thousands of years, Ötzi's body was altered by the glacier itself. The cold, dry conditions preserved his tissues, but also changed their appearance. His skin darkened and hardened as it lost water and fat. His hair became lighter and thinner as pigments broke down over time. These changes made him appear older and paler than he truly was. In reality, Ötzi was in his physical prime. He stood about 5 feet 3 inches tall, weighed around 110 pounds, and had well-developed muscles and dense bones, evidence of a physically demanding life in the mountains. Despite his strength, Ötzi's DNA revealed a long list of health problems.
He was lactose intolerant, had a high genetic risk for heart disease, arthritis, ulcers, gallstones, and even Lyme disease, making him the oldest known human case of the illness. Parasites were found in his intestines, his arteries showed signs of calcification, his joints were worn down from years of strain, and then there were his injuries. Ötzi had a deep cut on his right hand, likely from a knife or axe fight. He had bruises and fractures to his ribs, chest, and skull, possibly from blunt force trauma. Finally, the arrow wound in his back ended his life. But the biggest mystery remains. Who killed Ötzi, and why? Was it a territorial dispute, a personal feud, an ambush during a journey, or even a ritual killing? His weapons, clothing, and tools offer clues about his social status, but the identity of his killer may never be known. Ötzi the Iceman is far more than a frozen corpse. He is a time capsule, a living record of human migration, survival, conflict, and adaptation. Through him, we glimpse what our ancestors ate, how they traveled, what they feared, and how they died. And as science continues to advance, Ötzi's DNA keeps revealing new secrets. He reminds us that history is not buried in books, it is written in our genes. Ötzi the Iceman is not just a relic of the past, he is a living legend. One of the most surprising discoveries? Ötzi's ancestors were mostly farmers from present-day Turkey. This means he belonged to a group that migrated from Anatolia to Europe around 8,000 years ago, bringing agriculture and new technologies. His genome revealed 92% Anatolian farmer ancestry, with only 8% from other groups like Western European hunter-gatherers and Eastern European herders. This suggests Ötzi lived in an isolated alpine community with little genetic mixing. Unlike most Europeans today, who have a diverse ancestry mix, Ötzi's closest living relatives are Sardinians, an island population with similarly high Anatolian farmer ancestry. Another fascinating finding? Ötzi's appearance wasn't what we expected. Based on his mummified body, researchers assumed he had light skin and hair, but his DNA told a different story. He actually had dark skin and eyes, with very little hair on his head. His skin tone resembled that of modern Southern Europeans or North Africans, while his eyes were likely brown or hazel. His baldness? Likely due to male pattern baldness, influenced by a gene variant on the X chromosome that increased his risk six-fold. He also carried genes linked to obesity and diabetes, conditions common today, but rare in his time. So why did Ötzi's body look so different from his DNA? The answer lies in environmental changes. The glacier's cold, dry conditions preserved his tissues but altered his skin pigmentation and hair follicles. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more in-depth stories and discoveries from this channel.